Hey everybody, welcome back to Premiere OnScript. This video is going to be kind of a continuation on last week's video as far as the example goes, but it teaches a really important concept about how to get information from your HTML panel over into your Extendscript code. So in the last video, we created a batch exporter, which just targeted a bin and exported as many sequences that were in that bin out to Adobe Media Encoder. And what we're going to do this week is we're going to do the exact same thing, except we are going to make that a panel so that we're not running it through Extendscript Toolkit. So it's going to look something like this. I have my export folder. I have these sequences that I've duplicated that just have some footage from a trip out to a national park. And what I'm going to do is put in my export folder, which is just called export. And there's an option here to export at 720. This is my 1080 sequence that I have here, so I don't need to do that. And I'm just going to hit export. It's going to prompt for an output directory. And then Media Encoder is going to launch. It's going to pull in all of those sequences, and it's going to begin the export. I'm just going to cancel out of that because I don't actually want to export this 4 times. But you get the idea. It's basically the same script. It actually is the same script that we created last week, except now we have access to it within the panel. So let's talk about how to do this. If we come over to my Sublime text editor and we go to the actual Extendscript in this, there's a couple differences right off the bat. And the main differences are that export folder that we're targeting, we don't have a variable set for that up at the top. And that's because we're declaring that variable inside of our HTML panel. Now, I've been trying to figure out how to best kind of share this information with you in a way that I can explain. And to do that, I want to bring up the first 2 examples that we went over at the very beginning of me sharing this information about scripting with you in video number 1. In these 2 examples that I had of panels, there was this one where it would just alert you how many sequences are in the project. And in this one, it would alert some text. So I don't know why that says move me, but if you wanted to say hi, it would send that information over to Extendscript, and the script would alert you hi. So let's talk about how to transfer this information over from your HTML to your Extendscript. And to do that, we're going to use some slides because I think that that's going to be the easiest way to relay this information. So let's talk about how first the example number 2 works, where we just clicked that button and it told us how many sequences. So in the HTML code, you have your header and you have your body code, which you can see right over in here. So this is the same stuff just over on PowerPoint. And you can see in here what we have is we create a button. This is the same as the template that you can download as well off of premiereonscript.com. It's a type run, it's on click, and when it is clicked, it's going to run the run all function, which is up here. And then within the run all function, what it's doing is it's declaring this variable CS as a new CS interface. And the CS interface is going to be what is going to allow your HTML to talk to your .jsx file that you have saved in your JSX folder. Basically, it's what's going to help you communicate from your HTML to your Extendscript. And then we're going to go cs.evalscript, and then in parentheses and in quotes, $.myfunction.movebins. And the reason this says move bins is just because I was duplicating these examples over and over, and one of the examples had a function that was called move bins. It's just me being sloppy. But anyways, what happens when you click that on-click button is it runs this run all function and sends that string right there over to your JSX. And so it looks kind of like this. You click the button in the HTML, it sends over this string to your JSX, and then in your JSX, it looks like this. You can see your move bin function is right there. And it's going to declare a variable for the number of sequences and alert the number of sequences. So that is the simplest example of how to send information over to your Extendscript. And that's what comes through every time in that template I shared with you guys in video number 3. So if we were to get just a little more complicated with this, let's talk about how this next one works. The one where we put in some text, we press the go button, and then our Extendscript alerts us learning is fun, like over in this example right here. Well, it's just like the last one, but with a little bit more code. First off, we have the button down there. And then above that, we have this input, and we make the input type text, and we give it an ID, and then you set your value of whatever default text you want in there when this panel is opened. Now, when you click the OnClick button, it's going to go to Run All. It's going to once again declare a new CS interface, and then it's going to grab the information that is in that form. It's going to use that by declaring a variable. We'll call it form1. Set that equal to document.getElementById, and then form1 in quotations, .value. So what that's going to do is save in this variable the string learning is fun with 2 exclamation points if we're looking up at this example up in the corner. Then what we have to do is we have to send this variable over to our Extendscript before we can call the Extendscript function. So we're going to create a cs.eval script, and we're going to declare a variable. We're going to call it bin1, and we got to send this information over as a string. So pay close attention here to these quotation marks. We're going to use a single quotation mark to declare variable bin1 equals, and then do a double quote, and then end the single quote. Then we're going to do plus form1, which is just that text that we've entered, plus single quote. This is going to be the close double quotes, and then the semicolon and another single quote to close out that string. And what this is doing is it's packaging up and sending off basically a line of code over to be interpreted by the Extendscript, so that when we call the next line, myfunctions.moveBins, it is going to have that variable of bin1 ready to use. So that's basically how that works. And if we come back to our text editor and look at what we have going for this example that we just ran using the script that we had last time, we no longer have the variable of the target folder that we had for the last script. That's because we're going to be passing this over as the export bin variable right here. So what we're doing is we have a folder name text field right here that we declared, and then a question of whether we want to export at 720 or not. Another input that's typed checkbox, and the run button that has been the same for all of these examples. Up here, we start in run all by declaring our new CS interface. Then we store our export type, which is going to be the value of the checkbox .checked. So if the checkbox is not checked, this is going to return false. If the checkbox is checked, this is going to return true. And then we're also going to store the string that's in the folder name text field. I'm sending information over in this example a little differently than I did in the other 2 examples. In this one, I'm going to create a variable sender and create the string in here that I want to send over to that. And I'm going to include sender in the full cs.eval script string that I'm going to send over to Extendscript. So up in that, we have a variable, and we're going to make a variable export type. And once again, we're going to do that with these single quotes right here. And then in normal quotes, we're going to put the export type, which is going to be a true or false. So we have a single quote here. We're going to close the double quotes, which was started right over here, semicolon, and then we're going to declare our next variable, which is the export bin. var.exportBin equals, once again, open the double quotes and close the single quote. Put in your target bin string, and then open back up your single quote, close the double quote, semicolon, and close your single quote. So that can be a little bit confusing, but I promise it works. I can show you right now what this is going to say. So if I change this and I go alert and alert the sender variable that we just created, and then I save this, I'm going to go out to the folder where I have this saved. And I'm just going to load this in Chrome. So here's our same panel just loaded in Chrome. And if I put in export folder here and then say set this to true, the 720 checkbox to true, and run this, this is what we're sending over to our Extendscript. We're sending var export type equals true as a string, var export bin equals export folder as a string, and those are going to store in our JSX code just like we were writing lines over in Extendscript. That way, in this CS eval script call, we're going to send these variables over, and then by the time we do the run script export this, which is going to come over to the Extendscript, the Extendscript.jsx code already has the variable information it needs to use this information. So the checkbox comes down here to this if statement, and it says that if the export type equals true, it's going to point the output preset path to this 720 EPR file. And if it is not true, it's going to point it to this 1080.epr file, so that you have two different options of what you're going to be exporting your files at. So you can see it works just the same. If we come over here and make a bunch of duplicates of these 720 files, we'll just duplicate a couple. We pull these 1080 files out, export at 720. Once you get the output directory, it's going to pop over here and queue those up with the 720 output preset. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys this week. There's a lot that you can do with embedding your information into the HTML panel. It really gives you a lot of extra functionality. You can offer your users options on what exactly they want to do. So it's really an important part of learning to build these panels. Additionally, one thing I've learned to do is embed these EPR presets into my folder structure, into the extension folder where I have all these. I'll store them in the library folder. That way, if I'm sending my export presets over to someone, they don't have to point the script to an EPR file on their machine. It's embedded in that file directory. So it's a really powerful thing. There's going to be more to come with this concept in the future, but I just wanted to introduce it to you guys here. And I know it can be a bit confusing, so if you have any questions, please leave some comments in the video below. So thank you for watching this one, guys, and I will see you in the next movie.